Welcome to another episode of DegoSec Presents, a series that highlights the successes of our past students. Today's guest was born in the United States, raised in Trinidad, and then he went back to the United States where his life took a very interesting turn. Cashif Pritchard, thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.
Cashif, you're in the American military now. So without divulging any state secrets, can you tell me what is it you do?
Yeah. Well, in the U.S. military, I mainly deal with logistics, so supply chain movement, that kind of thing. And I deal with different classes of supplies, so mostly food, ammunition, general supply, and I guess, yeah, that's about it. And fuel, so.
Where are you based?
Right now I'm currently based in Georgia.
Okay. So when you say you deal with supply for the Army throughout the states, overseas, or just in Georgia?
Well, to answer that question, it gets a little bit more specific to units. So my unit supplies larger units in the state of Georgia. And if need be, then we're called to provide for the state of Georgia and maybe even nationwide. So, yeah.
Is this something you saw yourself doing when you were back in DegoSec?
Definitely not. when I was growing up in DegoSec, like, I only had a few things on my mind, make money, try to be successful, do something like that. But as life changed after the years passed, then I consciously made a decision to join the military, because for me I felt as if it was right at the time. So.
What made you think it was right?
Just because of where I was in college, studying, pursuing my degree, and I felt as if I needed to do something more rather than just work 2 and 3 jobs, as a waiter and a bartender or something like that. Just making chump change. I wanted something that actually mattered. And to me, I had a couple of friends that were in the military, and they convinced me or gave me some insight about the military that I didn't know about. So that was one of the major reasons I actually joined. Yeah.
How dangerous is it, in your opinion, to be in the military now?
Very, very dangerous, because you need to be aware of your surroundings. You need to be aware of what's going on not only in the country, but also overseas. It's no longer you can just go outside, go anywhere, and you're safe. I mean, you have people that look just like you and me who have ulterior motives for people in the U.S. Military. So as far as safety goes, it's just a matter of where you are and just making sure that you have your head on a swivel, is what we say. So.
Okay, you mentioned that it is not safe because there might be people just like you looking like you with ulterior motives. If you're not wearing your uniform, how would they know that you're in the military?
Well, there are certain tells about the people around you. If you're in the military, there are certain things you can look for, all right? And you can identify certain people that are also in the military and further on what kind of branch they're in or what type of branch they're in. So for other people who are outside of the military, they either study tactics, they study patterns, and they go off of that. So then they'll be like, okay, that guy in the military because of that reason. So.
Do you see yourself continuing into the military until retirement, or do you have another plan?
I would think that I can see myself retiring in this profession simply because it has provided for me over the past few years, and that's something that I was looking for initially. And then the more I got into it, the more I saw the potential it had. So instead of thinking 1 or 2 years in advance, I'm thinking like 5, 10 years down the road, which is definitely helping me a lot, and it's keeping me, I guess, on my toes. It's developing my maturity as the day goes by.
You were born in the States.
Mm-hmm.
You were raised in Trinidad.
Yeah.
You come here fairly often.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your heart?
Now, that's an interesting question. Being born in the United States has definitely given me a lot of different privileges that other people weren't privy to have. But also being raised here in Trinidad, the kind of mentality that I've built over the years that I spent here definitely made me the person who I am. So without being raised here, then I would be a completely different person. And to be quite honest, I'm happy with the person that I am right now. So just putting that together with the professional development of being in the US, then I would say that it's definitely worthwhile being over there. Being a citizen of the United States has definitely helped me as a person.
You studied, is it computer science at university?
That's correct.
Are you using that now in the military?
I am not using that in the military currently. On the civilian side, I am. So the way I am in the military, I have my civilian side and I have the military side. Not a lot of people have that. But I'm one of those that has a balance, so to say. So on the computer side, yeah, I have that on the civilian side.
What is your schedule like on a given day, seeing that you have a civilian side? Is it like 3 days on, 4 days off? How does it work?
Well, it depends on the time of the year and what training I have going on. So essentially on a regular, I guess, 4 or 5 month span, I would have military training like once every month, for like a couple of days or something. But in those 2 days, there's a lot of stuff I have to prepare and get ready for the next month. And then on the civilian side, it's a regular job, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. But then when I go to specific training or specialized training, which I just returned from, then it's completely different. The civilian side takes a backseat. So I have to tell my employers, hey, I'm going to be going so-and-so for a little while. So they make accommodations for me leaving. And then the military schedule, that's when, you wake up at like 04 or 05 in the morning and you go until however late it takes for you to get the job done.
So Cashif, is there anything that you learned in the OSEC that you find yourself carrying with you these days?
That's a big question. One of the major things that I've learned over the years, I guess through DIGOSEC and beyond that, is networking. Because at the end of the day, whether what profession you're in, you have to do your job. If you want to keep your job, if you want to succeed, that kind of thing. But also, it really helps to know people, to talk to the right people, to keep putting yourself out there. And to a certain point, it makes you vulnerable, but it also gives you great rewards. So in DIGOSEC, I love to socialize. I like talking to people, getting to know people, reading people, watching people's reactions, observations, that kind of thing. And then after DIGOSEC and I went abroad to study, I took that with me, the social aspect, the interactions, just to watch the kind of people that I'm around, because some people like to put on a facade and then, 2 or 3 days later, something else comes about. But just taking that social and networking aspect with me from the school, I think that's one of the biggest things that I've held on to since then.
You also have a musical side?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Wow. Well, I play piano. I started when I was in DIGOSEC and not really taking it seriously, it was just something, I hear a tune, I try to play it or something like that. I had a cousin of mine, she also went to DIGOSEC. She took classes with, her name was Auntie Gail, we call her, sweet lady, and I had to go pick her up, my cousin, from music classes. So one day I just, went in there and sat down at the piano and played a couple of things. And she was like, oh, okay, you can come back anytime you want. I was like, all right, thanks, listen. But at the time I didn't take it seriously. But then once I started actually going on a regular basis, then I was kind of drawn to it. It was like, I can relax and release stress. I was in my zone. So then as years passed, even in college, I studied music as a minor. So I had a few performances for the university. And it just continued to develop. So it wasn't more than just, something I studied, it was something I enjoyed.
So is it classical training or you find yourself doing more pop stuff? What do you do with the piano?
Definitely, when I started, it was classical because you have to discipline yourself in order to learn these things. Any trade for that matter. So you have to learn like notes. And I'm not saying that you can't learn like pop music and that kind of stuff, but the foundation came from classical and different music periods. So actually seeing music on a sheet of paper, that's where you gotta start with the foundations. So as the years passed, then I continued that and more. So I would branch into like pop or jazz, rhythm and blues, that kind of thing. But I never lost my love for the classical, that peaceful sense of mind.
Do you find yourself using your music in the military career at all? Or is it strictly personal satisfaction?
I would like to think it's more of a personal thing. I don't plan on using it in the military at all. I don't see any need for that. That's just a different type of skill set altogether. Yeah.
Right. Cashif, thank you so much for being with us today.
It was a pleasure.